Lechko president cuts short budget bill filibuster. Apex Horizon hotel room sales cancelled. And the landmark ruling on a transgendered woman's right to marry.
Hello and good evening. The President of the Legislative Council has exercised his power to end the two-week-long budget debate filibuster. Lawmakers are expected to vote on the appropriation bill next Wednesday, while those in favour of blocking the budget cried foul. Legco President Jung Yok-sing said allowing the debate to go on would mean losses to Legco, the government and the public as well. Rani Santamni has more.
Legco President Jung Yok-sing invited lawmakers to an informal discussion on what should be done about the filibuster as soon as the meeting began this morning. Albert Chan, one of those leading the filibuster, left in anger about an hour later, accusing the president of turning Legco into Beijing's Great Hall of the People. When the meeting resumed, Zhang announced that the government has made clear it will not yield to Albert Chan and his supporters' demands for a universal pension scheme and a $10,000 handout to each Hong Kong citizen. And since that was the reason for the filibuster, Zhang called an end to the filibuster, which is blocking passage of the budget. Existing rules and procedures do not have guidelines on filibustering, he said. But he has decided that the debate on amendments to the budget bill will end at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Legislators will then vote on the 714 amendments, and the entire process, the president hopes, will be completed by Thursday. That will enable the meeting to move forward the following Wednesday. He also plans to limit the length of speeches so that the council can move on to vote on the budget. Jung Yok-sing denied he was pandering to the government.
Why have I lost my independence? Right? If you listen to my argument, I will be issuing a written representation of the legal and procedural grounds for my decision today.
He explained that he did so partly because the government has warned that certain departments will effectively be paralyzed due to a lack of funds if the budget is not passed, and the Legislative Council itself may not be able to carry out its duties for the same reason. He is cutting short the filibuster by exercising powers granted to the President of the Council under Article 72 of the Basic Law. That is, he is to preside over meetings. Number 92 of Legco's Rules of Procedures also says, "The practice and procedure to be followed in the Council shall be such as may be decided by the President, who may, if he thinks fit, be guided by the practice and procedures of other legislatures." Having failed in their quest to force the government to yield, legislators who started the filibuster cried foul. One of them, Wong Yuk-man, was escorted away while shouting, "Down with the communist Legco president."
I think the amendment that we put forward and filibustering have proved to the public that the system is not a democratic one, and if Hong Kong people continue to rely on the administration and rely on this undemocratic system to fight for their rights, then they will be disappointed.
They have yet to decide whether or not to take legal action to challenge the Legco president's decision. Lawmakers who started the filibuster did so, they say, in order to force the government into agreeing to a universal pension scheme. After what's happened today, they now fear that other controversial issues in future, such as national security legislation, will be blocked by the President of the Council in the same way. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam says even if the filibuster ends tomorrow, delayed approval of the budget may still affect the cash flow of some government departments. She hopes the lawmakers who started the filibuster could withdraw the amendments they submitted. Nyo Kang reports.
Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam said today the budget may still not be approved before May the 15th. There are over 700 amendments. Even though the debate will end, she said, the Legco still needs some time for voting. The 2013 appropriation bill may not be passed before mid-May, and the cash flow of some government departments or public services will be affected, she added. She hopes the lawmakers who started the filibuster could withdraw the amendments they submitted. Secretary for Food and Health Ko Wing-man said if the debate ends tomorrow, it will not affect public medical services. He said the hospital authority will make sure its cash flow is not affected. The authority will work closely with the Food and Health Bureau. Meanwhile, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying wrote about filibuster in his blog. He said when he bought flowers on Mother's Day yesterday, everyone was complaining about the filibuster. He said some political parties did not support the filibuster, but are also against cutting the debate short. He said no matter whether lawmakers are for or against the filibuster or choose to stand on the middle ground, they should make their stance clear. Meanwhile, lawmakers in the pan-democratic camp slammed LegCo President Zhang Yuk-sing's decision to cut short the filibuster.
He's giving the impression that he's fitting in with the agenda of the administration.
This is a situation in which the executive wants to usurp and weaken the powers of this council.
The pro-establishment camp welcomed the move.
We are waiting for a time that we need to have a closure of this lengthy debate or the filibustering exercise. In fact, if you look at the judgment of this year, the Court of Appeal has made it very clear filibustering is not a constitutional right.
Financial Secretary John Tsang will call an emergency meeting on Thursday to discuss follow-up actions if the budget cannot be passed on Wednesday. Yoking TV News.
Cheung Kong Holdings has dropped its plans to sell units at its Apex Horizon all-suite hotel development in Kwai Chung. Buyers will get their deposits back with interest and any related legal fees. Jenny Lam reports.
It has been one controversy after another since Cheung Kong Holdings put rooms in the Apex Horizon all-suite hotel on the market in February. The Securities and Futures Commission, or SFC, warned that the sale and purchase of hotel rooms in Apex Horizon appeared to constitute a collective investment scheme and therefore cannot go ahead without the SFC's authorization. Cheung Kong said while it doesn't agree, the SFC's opinion may lead to legal uncertainties in the sale and purchase of the units and in turn affect buyers' ownership, mortgage arrangements and the subsequent sale. It has therefore decided to cancel all of the provisional contracts and sale and purchase agreements. Buyers were notified today and they can get back their deposits and any related fees with interest and $10,000 to cover their legal fees. SFC Chief Executive Officer Ashley Alder pointed out that investors in collective investment plans should have the right to certain information much more than that provided to buyers of Apex Horizon rooms. He believes cancelling the sales is a reasonable conclusion and the SFC will monitor any related progress before deciding whether further action is necessary. One buyer we talked to on the phone is surprised by the move and felt it is a pity since the transactions would be completed in a month's time. He hopes to get his money back with a 4% interest because that would be more or less what he would get from renting out the property. The 360 suites at Apex Horizon were offered at $5,200 per square foot. 65 units were first put on the market, followed by further batches, all of which were snapped up within a couple of days. The sales would amount to $1.4 billion. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
A transsexual woman known only as W was granted the right to marry her boyfriend today in what her lawyer called a landmark decision by the Court of Final Appeal. The court ruled that the current marriage ordinance provisions on gender are unconstitutional and gave the government a year to make amends. After twice losing the legal battle in Hong Kong's lower courts, W's final appeal was approved this morning by a 4-1 majority. Her lawyer called it a landmark decision.
This is, in my view, a case about equality. This is a case about sexual minorities being recognised and that their rights are just as important as everybody else's.
W's case came after the Registrar of Marriages would not allow her to marry her boyfriend because her birth certificate indicates that she was male. In a joint judgment by the Chief Justice Geoffrey Ma and Permanent Judge Robert Ribeiro, The court held that on the issue of marriage, it is contrary to principle to focus merely on biological features fixed at the time of birth. The judges rejected the government's argument that procreation is a key element of marriage today, with Justice Kamal Bukhari pointing out that the ability to procreate is not a condition of the right to marry, nor is the wish to procreate. The sole dissenting voice in the ruling came from Justice Patrick Chan, who argued that changes in laws to allow transsexuals to marry overseas was informed by social consultation, which indicated changes in social attitudes towards marriage. Attitudes which he said there was no evidence Hong Kong shared. But the court ruled that provisions on gender in the Matrimonial Causes Ordinance and Marriage Ordinance are unconstitutional since they impair the very essence of the right to marry. It also said the meaning of the words woman and female in the ordinances must now include a post-operative transsexual woman whose gender has been certified by a medical authority. Because of this, the court suspended W's ruling by a year to give the government time to consider appropriate amendments to the law. Justice Bukhari also made a point to note that the term post-operative transsexual is unnecessary because after sex reassignment surgery, W should simply be considered a woman. After the ruling, W spoke to the press over the phone. She said she felt happy that she could finally live life as a real woman. The Equal Opportunities Commission has also welcomed the ruling, saying the case shows there is need for greater public understanding to stop discrimination and prejudice against transgendered people. The World Health Organization says it seems likely the new SARS-like virus can be passed between humans who are in close contact with one another. The revelation comes after French health officials confirmed that a second man had contracted the virus in a possible case of human-to-human transmission. Tony Saban reports.
As if the H7N9 avian flu outbreak in China wasn't enough of a worry, the World Health Organization has also been trying to manage the novel coronavirus which has emerged from the Middle East. The WHO says that since 2012, there have been 33 confirmed cases in Europe as well as the Middle East, resulting in at least 18 deaths. A virus from the same family triggered the SARS outbreak in 2003, which killed 775 people worldwide, many of them in Hong Kong. Yesterday, French medical authorities said a second man had been diagnosed with the new coronavirus after sharing a hospital room with the country's only other sufferer. Speaking in Saudi Arabia, where many cases of the disease have been found, a senior WHO official admitted the virus could be passed between humans after close contact.
Of most concern, however, is the fact that the different clusters seen in multiple countries increasingly support the hypothesis that when there is close contact, this novel coronavirus can transmit from person to person.
But Fukuda also stressed the evidence right now suggested there was limited to no potential for a generalized outbreak.
This pattern of person-to-person transmission has remained limited to small clusters, and so far there is no evidence that this virus has the capacity to sustain generalized community transmission.
Fukuda urged countries to increase their levels of awareness and be on the alert for possible cases. Here in Hong Kong, Centre for Health Protection and Hospital Authority officials said the city is prepared and has measures in place.
We have adopted the early notification, early detection, and also early isolation strategy for any patient suspected with novel coronavirus.
Tony Sabine, TVB News.
In the U.S., gunmen opened fire on a Mother's Day parade in New Orleans yesterday, wounding at least 19 people, including 2 children. Police say it's unclear what started the shooting and believe 3 suspects might be involved. No deaths were reported and so far no arrests have been made. The FBI are calling it street violence and say there's no indication the shooting was an act of terrorism. With one of the highest violent crime rates in the country, shootings at parades and neighborhood celebrations are becoming commonplace in the southern U.S. city. Turf wars between gangs are often cited as the cause. Police say witnesses saw 3 suspects running from the scene in a rundown neighborhood a few kilometers from the French Quarter.
And still to come in the news. Judicial review application against new free-to-air licenses dismissed.